Zoro!
In this video, we will learn about the four emperor in One Piece, Redhairshanks. According to the story and the way this character is presented to us, most of the people think the character might be a protagonist, cause he plays important role in saving Luffy and technically giving him the sun god Nika fruit. But in latest series, Shanks have been founded talking to 5 elders about a certain pirate, and this raises question of he being a good or bad person. So we are going to go through his lifespan. Shanks was born in the West Blue, 39 years before the present day. When he was a mere 1-year-old infant, Shanks was found inside a treasure chest by the redhairpirates at God Valley. It is unknown how exactly Shanks ended up in such a situation, but he was eventually taken in by the crew. According to Shanks, he grew up in a town that produces wine. At least 30 years ago, at the age of 9, Shanks, alongside Buggy, was an apprentice of the crew. While reading a newspaper, Shanks was unhappy that it kept focusing on the Whitebeard pirates. At this point, he was already wearing the straw hat that was given to him by Gold D. Roger. At least 27 years ago, he spent most of his time together with fellow apprentice Buggy, arguing over meaningless things, such as which pole was colder, the North or the South. Their constant bickering was met with annoyance by the crew's first mate, Silvers Rayleigh. Despite the difference between them, both pirates were often seen together while they were on board the ship. This led Whitebeard to notice and even remember seeing a big nose with Shanks during their battles with Roger. Later, the crew spotted a nearby ship and prepared to attack it. As they prepared for combat, Shanks and Buggy discussed the importance of treasure, with Shanks claiming that treasure was not the only important thing in a pirate's life. During a raid on an enemy ship, while the crew retrieved a devil fruit, the Bara Bara no Mi, Buggy found a treasure map marking the location of a valuable underwater treasure which he did not plan to share with anyone. After the battle, the crew threw a party in celebration of their victory, and Shanks tried to invite Buggy to join them, as they had found a weird treasure. That night, Shanks and Buggy talked about what they were planning to do after leaving the crew, and when Buggy claimed that he would gladly take Shanks as his crew member if it were not for his ideals, Shanks stated that he did not want to be Buggy's follower and that people with different beliefs like them should travel different paths. The two of them agreed that they would meet as enemies once they left the crew, but then Shanks told Buggy about how the devil fruit they had found, which he noted would sell for around belly $100,000, causing Buggy to modify his scheme so he could obtain and sell the fruit. The next day, after Buggy had eaten a fake version of the devil fruit to trick the rest of the crew, Shanks came across him with the real fruit, forcing Buggy to hide it in his mouth. Shanks told Buggy to not steal too much food and walked away, but came back to tell him something that Roger just did, surprising Buggy, who accidentally swallowed the devil fruit. As Buggy was yelling at him, Shanks noticed the map Buggy had found earlier floating away, which prompted Buggy to leap into the ocean in pursuit of it. However, since Buggy could no longer swim, Shanks also leaped into the ocean in order to save him. Years ago, while the crew was being confronted by Golden Lion pirates, and he prepared himself for battle, Shanks reminded Buggy not to worry since his body was immune to slashing attacks. Shortly afterwards, after a storm allowed the Roger pirates to escape Shicky's fleet, this battle became known as the Ed War. At some point 26 years ago, the Roger pirates were causing a ruckus on an island. After defeating a group of Marines, they learned that the Whitebeard pirates docked on the other side of the island. The Roger pirates then clashed with the Whitebeard pirates for 3 days and 3 nights before the skirmish ultimately became a gift exchange. Shanks and Buggy gossiped about Marshal D. Teach's inability to sleep. The Roger pirates were then joined by Kozuki Oden and his family, as well as Inuarashi and Nekomamushi. While initially distrustful of Oden due to his association with Whitebeard, Shanks eventually warmed up to the samurai and began considering him a proper member of the crew. At some point, the crew visited Skypiea and discovered the Shandorian Golden Belfry Bell, where Roger asked Oden to carve a message into. Following their departure from Skypiea, the crew's voyage took them to Water 7, Tequila Wolf, Sabaody Archipelago, and Fishman Island. Sometime later, they left Kozuki Toki, Momonosuke, Hiyori, Inuarashi, and Nekomamushi at Wano country, under Crocus's suggestion, due to Toki having fallen ill at the time. Sometime after they had visited Zoo, Buggy also became ill. Shanks decided to stay behind with his friend to take care of him, so they never went to Laugh Tale with the rest of the crew. Following Roger's return from Laugh Tale, Shanks asked Roger something, only to shed tears afterwards. After Roger had become Pirate King, the crew was disbanded in secret a year before his death. Roger was the first to leave, and after parting ways with their captain, the rest of the crew returned Odin to Wano country. The other members, including Shanks, left the crew one by one. 24 years ago, Shanks was among the attendants during Roger's execution at Logtown. He cried after his former captain passed away. Later, at the same place, he started making plans for his own pirate career. He offered a place in his crew to Buggy, who refused to work for Shanks, and the two went their own ways. The rise of Chief Red-Haired Shanks. 22 years before the current timeline, Shanks heard about a skilled sniper by the name of Yasop and went to Syrup Village in the Gecko Islands in order to recruit him. 10 years ago, the redhairpirates rescued an island from a rival pirate crew, and Shanks adopted the orphaned 2-year-old Uta. At some point, Shanks encountered the Whitebeard Pirates member, Marshall D. Teach again, during which he left Shanks with 3 scars across his left eye. The exact date of that event is unspecified. Shanks also fought often with Dracul Mahawk, and their battles were said to echo through the whole of the Grand Line. Years ago, Shanks' crew stole the Gomu Gomu no Mi that was being guarded on a government ship by then CP9 agent Who's Who. In that same year, Shanks arrived on Dawn Island, where he met a strange young boy named Monkey D. Luffy. Intrigued by the boy and enjoying the atmosphere of Fuchsia Village, he decided to make the island his crew's base for a short period of time, which turned into a year. Luffy quickly grew attached to the crew, so much so that he wished to join their ranks and become a pirate as well. But Shanks refused to allow the boy into his crew on the basis
One
that he
day,
was too
Shanks
young.
witnessed Luffy's
By that
attempt
time,
to prove himself
Shanks'
worthy
bounty
of
was
joining his crew.
$1.04 billion.
He and his men watched with
Years ago,
anticipation,
the red hair
but were then
pirates
shocked
visited Elegia
as Luffy stabbed himself
left
below
Utah
his
in
left
Gordon's
eye
care
and returned to Fuchsia Village.
Romance dawn. They then held a party at the party's bar in celebration of Luffy's courage, during which Shanks scolded Luffy for being so foolish and once again denied Luffy permission to join his crew because he felt the boy was still too young and inexperienced and that he could not swim. After tricking Luffy into drinking juice, Shanks told him that he and his crew would be leaving the village after 2 or 3 more trips, which Luffy said would give him time to learn how to swim. However, they were interrupted when Higuma and his bandits arrived and demanded sake, which Shanks and his crew had drunk all but 1 bottle of. Shanks offered Higuma the last bottle, but Higuma smashed it over his head because he felt it was not enough. When Shanks tried to clean up the mess rather than retaliate, Higuma threw Shanks' food onto him and left, convinced that Shanks was a coward. Afterward, Shanks and his crew laughed over his humiliation, but Luffy, disillusioned by how Shanks refused to fight back, tried to leave, leading to Shanks discovering that he had eaten the Gomu Gomu no Mi when he grabbed Luffy's arm. Shanks scolded Luffy for this, stating that this meant he could never swim again. A few days later, Shanks and his crew went out to sea, with Luffy being left behind once again. Eventually, Higuma returned, and took Luffy as a hostage when the latter insulted him. As Higuma was preparing to kill Luffy, Shanks, having returned, appeared nearby and teased Luffy about his claim of having a punch as powerful as a pistol. Higuma warned Shanks to stay back, and when Shanks began to approach him, one of the bandits put a gun to his head. However, Shanks merely told the bandit not to point a gun at someone to scare them, as Lucky Roo shot the bandit in the head, shocking the onlookers. When the other bandits claimed this was dirty, Shanks pointed out how he and his crew are pirates before telling Higuma that he will never forgive someone for harming his friend, no matter what their reasons may be. After Ben Beckman had defeated the rest of the bandits, Higuma tried to claim that Luffy is the one who started this, but Shanks stated that it did not matter because Higuma had a bounty on his head, forcing Higuma to throw a smoke bomb and escape. Shanks expressed shock at Luffy having been kidnapped and frantically wondered what they should do. Soon afterward, Shanks caught up to Luffy, who had been thrown into the ocean by Higuma, and defended him from the Lord of the Coast, whom he scared away with just a glare. However, as Shanks was comforting him, Luffy began crying over how Shanks had lost his left arm in defending him, only for Shanks to claim it was just an arm. Later, Shanks and his crew began preparing to leave the village. When Luffy told him that he would become a pirate on his own, Shanks claimed that Luffy did not have what it took to become a pirate, which prompted Luffy to angrily proclaim that he would gather his own crew to defeat Shanks and become the Pirate King. Smiling at this, Shanks gave Luffy his treasured straw hat and told him to return it once he had become a great pirate, causing Luffy to begin crying. As Shanks boarded his ship, Beckman told him that he believed Luffy would become a well-known pirate, which Shanks agreed with because Luffy reminded him of himself when he was younger. Then, 6 years after leaving Fuchsia Village, Shanks would become recognized as one of the 4 emperors. At some point, Dracul Mihawk ceased dueling with Shanks because of his lost arm, but he retained a casual standing with the latter, and Shanks told him about Luffy. At some point, he met Portgas D. Ace, who thanked him for saving his little brother. Shanks quickly became friendly when Ace revealed his association with Luffy and Makino and threw a party to celebrate. While talking, Ace told Shanks that he had no intention of becoming Pirate King, but rather wanted to make his reputation spread throughout the whole world. Ace then asked Shanks about the scar on his face, and Shanks replied that he was unsure what the man who gave it to him was doing at the time, not revealing his name. $30 million Bali? Shanks later expressed an interest in Ace's pursuit of Blackbeard and sent Rockstar to deliver a note to Whitebeard concerning this matter. Angry at Shanks for sending him a letter, Whitebeard told Rockstar that his captain must come in person and bring plenty of good rum. Elsewhere, Shanks talked on a Den Den Mushi to Rockstar, where he laughed at how the old man has not changed a bit and denied Rockstar the chance to redeem his honor against the Whitebeard crew before ordering him to come back. When Beckman questioned whether or not he should go to Whitebeard, Shanks told him that the crew should prepare for battle. Water 7, Saga. After Whitebeard had told Rockstar that Shanks would need to come to him in person if he wanted to deliver a message, the 2 emperors finally met after the Inez lobby incident. As Shanks boarded Whitebeard's ship, he used Haoshoku Haki to render the lower-ranking members of Whitebeard's crew unconscious. Having arrived on the deck, Shanks apologized for his actions and claimed he was simply being cautious before telling Whitebeard he came to talk and had brought some healing water. When Marco pointed out what Shanks had done, Shanks asked him to join his crew, which Marco angrily rejected. After sitting down to drink with Shanks, Whitebeard began reminiscing about the past, where he noted that Shanks used to be a simple apprentice on Roger's ship. When Whitebeard asked him if the red nose that was with him was still alive, Shanks revealed that he had not seen Buggy since they split up at Logtown, before revealing that he had heard rumors of Buggy still being a pirate. Whitebeard claimed that he could still hear the duels between Shanks and Mihawk that used to echo throughout the Grand Line, before asking him what enemy he lost his left arm to, only for Shanks to state that he bet it on the new era. Scars over his left eye were currently aching, and revealed that Blackbeard inflicted them before describing how Blackbeard deliberately avoided becoming notorious during his time on Whitebeard's crew. Shanks warned Whitebeard that Blackbeard would come for his position now that he had gained strength and started moving, and when Whitebeard asked him what he wanted him to do, Shanks asked him to stop Ace, because he felt it was not the time for him and Blackbeard to fight. However, Whitebeard claimed that he needed to teach Blackbeard about morality, and that Shanks was 100 years too early to tell him what to do. After finishing their sake, Shanks and Whitebeard drew their weapons and clashed, resulting in the skies above them, splitting in 2. Summit War Saga. As mentioned by Momonga, when Whitebeard began making his move towards Marineford to save Ace, Kaido attempted to take advantage of the situation to attack the Whitebeard pirates. To the horror of the Marines, reports came in that Shanks had intercepted Kaido, creating a dispute between 2 of the 4 emperors. While the two captains ended their confrontation with a stalemate, the Marines became greatly anxious about the possible problems that could arise from conflict between the two pirates. After the deaths of Ace and Whitebeard, Shanks suddenly arrived at Marineford, just in time to save Kobe from being killed by Admiral Akainu. Commending the young Marine for his determination, Shanks told him that he had secured the seconds of courage to change the fate of the world with his brave words, before proclaiming that he had come here to end the war. The Marines noticed the presence of the other red hair pirates, as they wondered how Shanks was able to arrive at Marineford so quickly, having fought with Kaido the day before. Calling out to Buggy, Shanks told him to give Luffy his straw hat and lied about rewarding him with a treasure map. When Lucky Roo asked him if he was sure that he did not want to see Luffy again after having not seen him for 10 years, Shanks admitted that he would like to do so before stating that it would be breaking their promise. After Trafalgar Law had escaped with Luffy, an enraged Buggy called Shanks out for lying to him, but Shanks merely commented on how it had been a while since they last saw one another. After ordering Marco to withdraw in order to stop encouraging the battle, Shanks told the remaining Marine and Whitebeard pirates that he and his crew would fight anyone who wished to continue the war. Shanks asked Blackbeard if he wished to do so, but Blackbeard decided to leave instead, having determined that it was not yet time to face Shanks. Shanks told the remaining Whitebeard pirates and Marines to save face for him, before telling the Marines that he wanted to give Whitebeard and Ace the burials they deserved. When Fleet Admiral Sengoku stated he would hand their corpses over to the pirates, and that he would take responsibility for the Marines' actions, Shanks thanked him for doing so. Later in the New World, the Red Hair pirates attended Whitebeard and Ace's funeral with the Whitebeard pirates to pay their respects. Marco thanked Shanks for ensuring that Whitebeard and Ace received proper burials. As he was leaving, Shanks quietly thought about how Luffy was handling Ace's death and noted that one must know both victories and defeat to become a real man. Whole Cake Island Saga. While attending a wedding at the ruins of a certain island, Shanks read the news of the Straw Hats' new bounties after the Dressrosa incident. As the news of Luffy's exploits at Todo Land spread across the world, Shanks read the newspaper and looked forward to seeing Luffy again. Shanks later went to Mary Jiwais to speak with the 5 elders in person about a certain pirate. Wano Country Saga. 1 week after Luffy's fight with Kaido, Shanks and his crew arrived near the shores of Wano. Shanks acknowledged Luffy's skill as a pirate and thought back to the times he was last in Wano when the Roger pirates were dropping off Kozuki Oden, also saying that Momonosuke and Hiyori must be all grown up by now. He looked at Luffy's new wanted poster while reminiscing about the time he stole the Gomu Gomu no Mi from CP9, as well as about the time he was with Luffy in Fuchsia Village. Though his crew wanted to meet Luffy after this long time, Shanks declined and reminded the crew that Bartolomeo had been ravaging in their territory, stating that if they let that just slip, it might hurt Shanks' reputation as an emperor. Setting Bartolomeo as their next target, he then took a cup of sake and sat down with Beckman, whom he told that it's time they make their move and claim the One Piece. Shanks interrupted Momonosuke's fight with Admiral Ryokugyu by sending a strong wave of Haoshoku haki from the outskirts of Wano. The Admiral sensed his haki and realized that Shanks was the one using it. The Red Hair pirates told Shanks not to use his haki without warning, since he was knocking out newcomers of the crew. Shanks then told the Admiral to leave the pirates to rest after they had just finished making pirate history, before asking if the New Age frightens Ryokugyu that much. The Admiral disengaged from the fight, not wanting to confront Shanks,